All right, now we are back with the Thirsty Nerds podcast.
Woo!
We are here to talk about a little bit of a firestorm that took over the Twitterverse in the rounding of the last year. There was a big discussion about modern comics and the state of them. People had some huge opinions, spanning from Mark Millar,
as they always do,
and various store comic owners, and people had a lot to say, including the man we have on this call right now, the hardest working man in comics, Victor Dandridge.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? How
welcome to the pod, man.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry that, I know we were trying to do this a couple weeks ago, and I was actually at a show, which made things a little difficult, but I'm so glad that you guys kept with me to have me on to talk about this.
No, thank you for fitting us in your schedule as well, man. Thank you for...
Of course.
Yeah, you're the prize, okay? We're sure.
I don't know, man. You guys are killing it. Y'all are doing big things out here.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to join you.
So I wanted you to just, quickly for us, if you can, give us your opinions on the storm that went down, and overall your opinion on the state of modern comics, if you will.
So I do think that the state of modern comics is changing, and I think that anyone that says that there hasn't been a decline isn't being honest.
Absolutely.
Or is experiencing a rather rarefied air of success and don't actually see the full totality of things. So there's certain voices that if they said it, I would forgive it because from their perspective, yeah, things are booming, but that's not everybody's eating like that.
Yeah.
And because everybody's not eating like that, we have to have this conversation. I think that's the easiest lead into the conversation. A question that was being had, though, I think is a little bit more of an example of a cultural war that's taking place right now, and it's sparked politically and has oozed its way into comics in the worst way possible.
Yeah,
and
couldn't agree more.
That's kind of an unfortunate series of events, but what has ultimately happened is you've got people that are talking around a subject, and not everyone is having the exact same conversation, but we're all responding like we're having the same conversation, and that is the biggest problem overall.
Yeah. Okay. I think one of the things that really accentuated it was that the wrong people took a message that may at some point have had some merit and twisted it into their own
that's the problem.
Vision.
Yeah, people. Yes. It's so because the pieces are there to help with their argument and everything. So they kind of just latch on. It's like, oh, he's obviously talking to me.
Yeah,
and how I've been feeling about this particular subject. Because they're not looking. They keep changing things, and they keep changing the things to be more quote woke or whatever. Instead of appealing to me without me.
Oh man, you guys remember when those new champions almost came out? Oh, it was just
with the snowflake and
I forgot about that.
And so here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. If you look at that and you go, I think I can comfortably say that for the most part we're all fairly liberally minded,
for sure,
as individuals. But even we were looking at that like, ew.
Yeah.
that's such a wait, what? That ain't it.
And the fact that it got to the point that we even saw that, it left the cutting room floor and got to the public eye. What were they thinking?
I was kind of championing it,
but I wasn't the thing with that though. I think we did read it on the pod, but it's been years at this point. But I feel like that was actually just a sort of. It was sort of a parody of what they were. It wasn't what we thought it was, but people once again took that and then posted it on Twitter or whatever to say, see, this is what they're doing. This is what we're doing. Even though it literally was about, it was it was a spoof. It was trying to show you what this group within the comic, I believe, was trying to do with certain heroes and stuff to push it the thing. And then they were scrapped immediately, if I'm correct.
I think the main conversation, if I remember correctly, was the guy was complaining about people writing themselves as these comics, right? And I think there is a merit to that in some points. I think when you do approach a legacy character as that, there is a portion of you that you want to put out, because you are a writer. There's no way to separate yourself from your writing works. And I think people read that into you're trying to turn every character that I love into a person of color or into a LGBTQ community member. Yeah. And they it's the red flag that they just kind of just champion and run straight down the hill of Rohan into the orcs within their minds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and the biggest issue, of course, is that when you come at comics from that particular lens, it's not true. Like, and in my video rebuttal, I made this point that Captain America #1, as we understand it now, is like this benchmark of obviousness, right? You got Cap punching Hitler, and you're like, of course, knock that Nazi out.
Right.
But when that book came out, that was a very personalized statement made by Jack Kirby. That wasn't popular culture at writ. That was not company policy. That was Jack and Joe deciding that they were going to throw their bones in on the state of the Nazi population or occupation in Europe. We weren't at war yet. That book came out in March of 41. Pearl Harbor doesn't happen until December of that year. Yeah. So he definitely put his own personal spin into comics right there on the cover.
How he felt and everything, putting himself on the page and stuff, because you're going to write what you feel and how you think.
Right.
Absolutely. Even to the point where there were members of the American Nazi Party that showed up in the lobbies of Marvel Comics, which wasn't even Marvel at the time, trying to fight with Jack. And Jack, cool, let's knuckle, let's go. So, when you say the idea that people are putting their perspectives on these comics, what you're actually saying is that people are putting a different perspective than you've ever known.
Yeah.
Not that it's personal, but it's just different from yours, and that's the thing that you're upset about.
It just kind of sad. I just want to put this out real quick. It feels to me that these so-called fans are actually with them saying that no, our comics are not political, or you keep inserting yourself in these problems in my comics and stuff, and I just came here to escape and stuff. They are dumbing down the things they love so fucking much. Even though people who are outside the fan would tell them that no, the comics are dumb, who cares, why are we reading them, whatever. But them themselves, who call themselves fans, are destroying the complexity of what comics are,
of the medium,
just saying it's dumb. It's you're making this complicated and stuff with your different ass characters and stories. How dare you?
I can't tell you how many times I've heard that just make a good story argument. He even said that in the video, and I struggle with that because it's what is a good story? If you're being truly objective, it can be really anything.
But how can you create a good story without drawing from your own experiences and foundations? I can't write something I don't know.
It's writing 101. You have to feed in your own experiences and your own opinions, because otherwise, what kind of writer would you be if you didn't do that? It sounds robotic.
Go even deeper. Even in the sense of a bad parody, they still aren't aiming to tell a bad story. They're aiming to do it in a good way.
Right.
So,
they're trying to say something.
Yeah, a good example is even though I think they completely missed the mark, it was the Miles Morales when he was Thor.
Oh yeah,
it read like a someone's version of a blaxploitation film, like Dolomite or something.
That's what happens when you write what you don't know.
Yeah,
You don't know.
It felt.
Wait, because I want to give a little bit of not pushback, but the other side of the spectrum. Even is there was a short in, I want to say, Action Comics a couple months back, clearly written by a black man, and the vibe of Natasha, Steele's niece, using all kinds of pop cultural colloquial slang that black kids are using today. Okay. But if you set that tone for this character, you're it's authentic because a black man wrote it. What happens when a white dude tries to keep that energy going? Now you've set the tone that this is a characterization.
Right.
But now I'm not supposed to touch this character because I don't I'm not of that culture. I don't speak that culture. Is it appropriate for me to try to do it? Well, so you have to be very careful with corporately owned characters, because I think that's ultimately what it is people have to understand that our association, fandom, and attachment to these characters does not give us ownership.
No,
under any circumstance.
Yeah,
not at all.
And I think it also, even as sad as it is, it doesn't give the writer at that time ownership either.
At all.
Yeah, like that's why you have so many different iterations of these classic characters. You know, they kind of like vary with intent as the years go on, because the writer is putting themselves into it. But I think there's a fine line that a writer has to kind of keep in tow, I guess, to make sure that character doesn't go to the far left,
like off the wall.
Yeah, I feel like that was one of the main criticisms that last Black Panther run had. That they just kind of it made T'Challa just be foreign to himself, and we've seen that even with like characters that are written by people of that race. I can't remember what that comic was. It was, I think it was a Blue Beetle comic that they just kept throwing out Spanish words, and I, as a Spanish speaker, I was like, nobody that I know talks like this. It was a Wildstorm. It was a Wildstorm comic. It was one of the ones that was like, hey, Vato. It was like,
just kept going like,
it's very small within our community that anybody even really talks like that. So even when you're coming from that community trying to like play into something that you don't know,
right?
It falls flat.
It shows that as a writer, when you're tasked with doing a little bit of footwork to make sure that what you're writing seems a bit more authentic, that you don't do that footwork.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask, because there is another side to this as well. Into that fray of that whole discussion on the other side was Mark Millar made some headway doing that, and where I think you were saying this in your reply video is that where Mark was coming from is that his fan base is buying his stuff. Yeah. So it's like do you think? I guess what my question is that do you think that fans in general like have sort of lost the ability, because I mean, you're Black, you've grown up reading comics as much as I have, and we've all, everyone in this room has kind of had to see themselves in these characters growing up, and that was sort of like a magic of doing it. Like we had to find a way to relate to them in order to enjoy them, and still do.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, do you think that like modern fans in general have sort of lost the ability or even the want to try and relate to something that's not their experience?
1,000,000%. This is the unfortunate fall of wanting representation, because what ends up happening is by wanting to see an exact representative of you and your lifestyle, what you fail to be able to do is see yourself in other cultures, peoples, and experiences.
Yeah.
And that is part of the problem, is the flag was being waved so hard for, hey, we should see more of this, and this, that in the interim of getting that, or in the process of making it, we stopped being able to see where we actually fit into spaces and places that didn't look like us.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why that's important is because it teaches those people that don't look like us how to find themselves in the stories that are more about us for their own edification, enjoyment, interest, whatever. Like that's where the woke thing comes from, because these guys can't see themselves. They don't see the entrance to them,
but
so they're mad
and don't want to. It's crazy.
I'm gonna do a little bit of pushback, only to say is that it feels weird to, as Jamal put it, we over the years, that people of color and everything had to find a way to make these stories relatable, right? And then you have the other side of people who are mostly white, who never had to have that problem, and now that they finally have to try, it's painful for them, and they think it's wrong. Like, since they have to try and it's painful, it's wrong. It's like going to the gym. You haven't gone to the gym your entire life, and you finally decide to lose some weight. You go to the gym the first day. It's painful. It's dumb.
You're sore,
and you leave, and you're like, I'm not gonna go back again. And and for us who've been going to the gym all our lives in order to enjoy, metaphorically.
Don't give him that look. Don't give him that
look. Here's a part that's interesting. Let's build on what you're saying though. Yeah. So like, okay, it's understood, accepted that as Black men, our physicality is higher due to, generations of work in the fields where we're toiling away while others are sitting in leisure, right?
Mhm.
So we are authentically stronger as a genetic species because we've toiled longer than other people. The issue is, while we were doing that toil, we never told anybody that it was making us stronger. So what ends up happening is, if in that same context of hitting the gym and everybody else is like, oh, maybe this getting strong thing is something that we should do, we never said, yo, we've been doing this entire time. And when it's hard for you, just keep going because you'll find yourself in it. This is like when I say the issue with the call for representation happens is what we never said is how we saw ourselves in characters that didn't look like us. That wasn't part of the conversation. And it should have been only by way of easing into what happens when we get what we want, so that the other side isn't automatically fighting against us. It is a way of compromise. And one of my favorite stories about it is I talked to a mom, this is years and years ago, and she was talking about how she never let her son, a young Black kid, read comics because there was nothing in it for a Black kid to learn. Yeah. And she's like, we're going back and forth, and she finally throws out Batman. And she's like, well, what can this rich white guy teach my kid? And I go, you mean, what can a survivor of gun violence say to a Black kid? Like, gun violence of a family member? No, that doesn't affect the Black community at all. Yeah. And she's like, oh, snap. Like, I never even looked at it that way. And I said, and that is the problem. You saw what you wanted to see and you spoke based on that, not what is possible. So that way you're teaching other people how to see you or see themselves with what your voice ends up being, because that is ultimately what the human experience is. I'm supposed to show you how you are just as involved in what I'm saying happened to me, so that you feel it too.
I think, but the problem though, with like whether or over how fast the push for representation is, I don't think it even matters what speed. I don't think I think what has been going on in the recent like years of comics, when putting more and more people of color or people, any sort of representation on the screen that isn't what we used to see, I don't know if it has compromised or not, because I feel like the people who are used to seeing themselves, like the majority of people, like the people of white people and everything who go to comics, white men who go to comics to go buy comics, go to comic store to buy comics and everything, if they don't see themselves, I feel like they don't even fucking give the comic a chance. They don't even they don't pick it up. And the fact is that I don't think, no matter what, there is no such thing as compromising when it comes to representation, only because there will always be pushback. If they don't understand what compromise is. I
think you're right. I think there'll always be pushback, but I think the pushback is accentuated by the soapboxes. I don't think the pushback is as loud really in real world as we see it on these platforms. I think we as minorities have been kind of nurtured, or from the get-go have been forced to see ourselves in other situations. Yeah. And now it is now other people have to learn to do that. And I think that is where the speed bump is. And I think that we're going to see that resistance, and we're going to see it very loudly from people who refuse to go over that speed bump. But I feel like in actual real relationship, if you sit in a comic convention floor, I think you see a lot more of that acceptance and a lot more of that call for, I want to read somebody else's perspective, because maybe their perspective isn't as exciting or enticing as somebody else's. So I think we are seeing a drastic change of that within other communities and other groups, being able to see our stories. I think what we're seeing, much like everything else in pop culture, we're seeing a gigantic soapbox of people that are just screaming and getting amplified by the small community that agrees with them.
Yeah, by the social media and stuff that the platforms that they're on.
And then I think that becomes a narrative of of the whole situation.
Right, because it's possible they can very much do it. I met a guy in the comic book shop, and he actually put me on to Transformers Dreamwave, and I'm really excited to checking that out. But they can certainly relate to machines and animals.
Yeah.
And,
Like they don't look like them,
you know.
Yeah, I think the storytelling is so intrinsically human that all it takes, it just takes one good story to grab somebody, to open them up. Maybe those people haven't found that story. Maybe those people are hard-headed enough, and as we've seen throughout history, mindsets die off and mindsets evolve, and you either keep up with the times or you don't. And within our own communities, we also have to police our own communities from being like, hey, we're overreaching.
It's definitely disheartening when I see people who look like me talk down about quote unquote wokeness and shit in media that of people that look like them themselves. They're like, no, why they do that? Why are they keep pushing this agenda and stuff? Like what do they want? I don't understand what they want, but like
compromise in the wrong direction.
Like what Heido was saying, like though those are the things I see, but that's not necessarily what's actually happening. Like the most of those people who are more accepting and stuff, the change in the culture, they're not busy making short videos and stuff like, complaining about what they don't like about comics and representation of comics and stuff. They're busy just reading. Yeah. Like they're busy buying the content. We've shown throughout time, whether it be in comics or movies and stuff, the money is there. It's shown that it's profitable. People want to see this. That's not just people who look like the thing.
You had
one of the greatest examples of, and this does require some compromise, some placating to white tears. It does involve this, and there's some people that are like, nah, fuck that, I don't want to do all that. But it's kind of important in order to assuage the transition into these spaces, and to fight against the hard cultural pushback that sudden stops and starts will always engineer. And I think the best showcase for it is the introduction of the Black Panther in the MCU. As an example of exactly how I think this stuff could work, right?
Yeah.
We're talking first introduction is Civil War, right? Where we establish the context of authority and power of T'Challa, right? Right alongside Steve Rogers, right? Like right alongside of him. It's not like, oh, he's better than him. He's not coming out the gate being like, oh, I'm gonna beat you. When he's coming out the gate is like, I'm trying to go after your boy, and you need to stay out of my way. Like we can all understand the context of, my father just got killed. I want revenge. That is a non-race issue. That is an everybody sort of moment. And in that, Black Panther is shown to stand toe-to-toe, side by side, with almost the entirety of the Avengers squad. So when he's with Tony, easy peasy, you're like, yeah, nah, that dude is a problem. He's fighting right alongside. When he fights Cap, boom, you're like, yeah, nah, this is real. This is some hands throwing. When he fights Bucky, same thing. And ultimately, by being led into the MCU with this, quote unquote, and I know it sounds terrible, but there's a method to the madness. The cosign of the white characters, right, allows for it gives a thumbs up. It immediately gives a thumbs up. And let's look at it. Who was the real bad guy of the movie? It was Zemo. Who caught Zemo? Black Panther did. Yeah. No one like raises an eye like, how is it that it's a Captain America movie and the guy that catches the bad guy is Black Panther? No one questioned that under any circumstance.
And I think the beauty of that introduction just kind of rocket launched the premiere of Black Panther, where it was completely beloved by everybody.
Yeah,
almost.
Yeah. I've yet to meet anybody that doesn't like the movie.
Everybody, and to the point where I have seen, this is no joke, white girls cosplay as Black Panther at shows after that movie.
Yeah, my wife's best friend, her son, the white kid, his favorite character is Black Panther.
Yeah,
dresses up as him all the time.
I saw a TikTok of it, he was like, "What do you want to be?" I'm Black Panther. And he was like, "Are you sure?"
And
that's the goal.
And I think that's the way that's how the doors open up with good
Right.
storytelling like that actually implements and it's a story that everybody can see themselves in. And that is, I don't want to call that an anomaly. I think it was just the right place at the right time with the right story, with the right everything.
Yeah, it's weird because like I hear that and it's true. I remember about when I worked at Family Express, right? It was like just when the actual Black Panther movie was coming out, or it did come out. I'm not sure which. I had a customer come up to me and I think I had some Marvel thing, or he had a Marvel shirt on. Like, oh, you like Marvel? Like, yeah, I like Marvel and everything. White guy, he seemed pretty cool. And I asked him like, so are you gonna go see the new Black Panther come, or that's either out or it's gonna come out? You wanna go see it? It looks like good. It looks really good. He's like, no. He was like, wait, why? It just doesn't speak to me. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, it just doesn't. It's not. I don't know. I just something about it. He's like, nothing against Black Panther. Nothing against it.
Yeah, no. It's the blackness of it. I can't.
I just
a little
can't
much.
see.
Something tastes a little overcooked in this one.
Nothing against the Panther.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah,
But the black.
Cool. But if you look at, and this is the part that becomes really interesting. So his introduction in Civil War, everyone embraces, right?
Yeah.
Black Panther is without question a very black movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you talk dollars and cents, we as black people showed up for that movie because it actually grossed domestically more than Infinity War did.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about, here's an introduction to a character that can be universal and embraced, but then you can also tell stories that are very culturally rooted and for a particular demographic.
Yeah, very.
As long as the demographic shows up, everything's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it came right back around with Endgame, with Endgame making more money than everything. And let's go back to the greatest moment in our lifetimes of cinematic history. When you get that on your left, you hear that scream. First person that flies out of the portal, black man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Falcon.
You got Falcon. Boom. Everybody's like, yo. And then when you see T'Challa and the rest of the Wakandans coming through, everyone loses their minds. Anybody else that walks through the portal, that's extra. That's
extra,
cool.
mad extra.
Good job. Peter, I'm glad you're still alive on both cases. But when he walks out and you hear that Ibombe, everyone starts chanting.
Nuts.
It is everything. Because again, when you want to bring in another culture to a particular popularized medium, it's always good to have that cosign so that you can then have your own niche, tell your own stories, but still be part of the greater whole. You got to still be a part of the greater whole in order for it to work. And that is the biggest contextual problem that I think everyone has, is they don't know how to see themselves as part of the greater whole. Yeah. Whether that is the new voices coming in or the old readers feeling left out. That's their problem.
I feel you on that 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm an optimist. I've always been an optimist. I think it's only going to get better with the newer generations. The way that how social media has allowed us to kind of just delve into other cultures. I think it's only going to get better. I think those voices are screaming to be heard because they're holding on to facets of mentality that are no longer viable. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to see a lot more of those screams before they all quiet down. But the lesser we pay attention to them, I think is the better it's going to go. And I think Mark Millar approached it from a sense of, characters shouldn't be changed, but he was fighting the wrong battle with the right intentions.
Yeah.
I don't even think his was characters should be changed. That's not even where he was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think he was coming from?
So for all, let me be super transparent. Mark is my friend and mentor. So I've had many conversations with Mark that other people weren't privy to. But the thing about it is what he's talking about is the corporate structure is getting in the way. They're not allowing people to tell good stories. They're basically trying to pander to hit certain demographic markets. And it's not even that the writers themselves are wanting to do these things. It's what they're being instructed to do by editorial. And Mark knows that. And he's that's the thing he has a problem with, is that collectively Marvel and DC are not actively letting people tell great stories anymore. They're getting in the way, listening to what they hear on Twitter, and they're like, oh, we got to pivot, we got to turn, we got to do this. you're stepping on the toes of creators that you've hired, and you're getting away from the thing that actually lets these companies be as great as they are. They don't. He has no problem with changing something. I mean, this is a dude that made Superman Russian. Like that's like, and there's people I'm sure they'll be like, oh, that's weak sauce. No, that's huge.
Yeah,
that's such a huge move.
I mean, the ambassadors themselves, that whole run was great for inclusivity, I feel like.
Absolutely. And even daring to point the finger at white men, cis white men, even to be like, yo, they're diabolical. Look at how they'll lie to get what they want. Like, he has no problems being authentically open to race, other orientations, gender, like identities, like everything. He's wide open to it. It's just that when the corporate world kind of steps in and gets in the way of the creative side, that's the thing he can't stand. He hates it. And so what's happening is he's saying Marvel and DC, talking editorial and admin, Gary, the shop owner, is thinking the creators on the ground floor, they're not talking about the same thing. Yeah. And that's the problem.
I think also, but I can understand that with that much context and everything, it's now you can see his point.
Right.
But when people hear that, like the regular folk,
it got lost in translation.
It gets lost, and the people who don't understand the point that he's making use that as an evaluate, like, oh, see, even Mark says this.
Exactly.
Like it's about, you see, it's all about the fact that it's about race, sexual identification, all this other shit that they keep trying to push on me, the reader. Right. I'm the one who reads these comics, and and Mark agrees that it's about that, even though that's not what he meant. That's not what he was saying.
I think not what he's saying at all.
And I think all of us agree that nuance is not a great facet of these people's lives.
It's not a Twitterable response.
It's not Twitter.
You can't put that on there. But like when it in full understanding and disclosure of this, like Mark's success comes from the support of comic shops.
Absolutely.
So in context, he's always going to support comic shops because that's how he made his money. Yeah. And everyone that looks at comics from a business standpoint should understand that idea. If the comic shops don't order it, then I'm not successful. It's got nothing to do with how many people bought it from them. It's got nothing to do with whether or not a movie was made. If the comic shops don't order it, I'm not successful. Right. So if you go after a comic shop, Mark will take umbrage on that part because he's very protective because they're the guys that made him successful.
Yeah. Yeah. And completely agreeable on that stance. There's great. I think this has been a great conversation. I think it opens up a lot of the sore topics that people don't really want to speak on sometimes. But aside from that, man, what have you been reading? What has been catching your attention lately?
Put us on game, bro.
Listen, and this kind of fits perfectly into the conversation. I for the last 10 years had the great joy of being a part of a show called Black, White, and Red All Over. It was a comic book review show where every week we were reading new books. But unfortunately, right before the turn of the year, the shop that I was doing this at, Comic Town, had to close doors because business wasn't what it needed to be. And so I actually have been kind of out of the loop for a little bit. But I went to the shop just last week and I grabbed Batman Off-World, which is amazing. Jason Aaron and Doug Mankey playing up the idea that Batman might have a plan for everything, but part of that plan is he's not prepared and he needs to go get prepared. And he realizes that.
No, we
didn't. Did you read that? Oh, the context is simple. Batman gets beat up by an alien because he realizes that there are alien fighting styles that he doesn't know. And so he wants to go out into space so he can learn how to fight aliens that he's never experienced before. And I'm like, that's hardcore. Like that's dope. That's part of Jason Aaron's turn over at DC. He also just started a 3-issue stint on Action Comics where he's doing something buck wild with Bizarro, which I was super excited about.
Just saw an advertisement for that.
That looks so. This looks so, well, lack of a better word, bizarre to see like him just hoeing Superman like that.
Right? But I mean, like it's almost like Silver Agey. Like he backhands Superman to Venus, and you're like, whoa, like hold on, what is that? Like that's crazy. That's crazy. I'm also picking up Tim Sheridan's Alan Scott Green Lantern. Tim is a buddy of mine, and again, here's an example of a writer who is openly gay, who is now given a character who, through retcon, has been identified as homosexual. And what we're getting from this storyline is an authentic look at what gay culture has been like and been subject to in America since the 1940s. This is teaching people like, yo, this is what happens when people have to hide who they are, when they're not free to love and live as freely as they want to, and how that can create this internal burden, despite the fact this person wants to be a hero. Like, this is it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And one of the great cases of somebody putting themselves in the work, but he's not the one that said that Alan Scott was gay. That's not his.
Right.
Just like, it wasn't black creators that created Black Panther.
Right.
Somebody else created him as an open template, but give it to Ryan Coogler, and now all of a sudden we got the blackest of black happening, and it's church every time you watch Black Panther the movie. Like, sometimes you gotta leave the door open for someone from a culture to actually add to it, and now you're like, yo, that's dope as hell.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to do it. I think if you're gonna do that, like do those type of changes or open up those type of characters, I think the best way is to leave them an open blanket to let people that really are intrinsically tied to that community come in and really be able to write something good. Yeah.
I completely agree. I do agree that the corporate structure also gets in the way of that, because that may not be a particularly in season, and then we get like for as much as I love Wolverine, we get 8 stories about Hot Claws and chasing down the Predator.
I mean, I can only put myself in the other shoe. Imagine if, let's say, the culture was leaning away from my own personal beliefs, and I was on the other side, and I was watching and I was seeing comics. Like, can you imagine if what's his name, fake Captain America? Where am I blanking out? U.S.
agent.
U.S. agent.
Yeah, what if U.S. agent was just allowed to just go buck wild on the pages, and I'm just sitting there fucking having to read
and
it,
then like written like he's in the right and everything. Like, yeah, he had to do this.
So I think I'm glad that the world is opening up and getting better to the point where a lot of our own I don't want to say liberal tendencies, because that hot word is going to trigger somebody.
Oh yeah,
but you know what I mean. Like it's the world is getting, I think, to a spot where it's just getting so much better that we can open up and talk about this type of things, and that's what's in the culture now, and we're seeing that, and we're able to tell art stories in that manner now.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's the biggest gift that we can give anybody that's not from our culture, is a window into it and show them how they're like us. Again, another example of that is the Into the Spider-Verse franchise. How many young, white kids, like straight up identify as white kids, run around like Miles Morales.
Yep.
Yeah, they love that shit. Like,
awesome.
They absolutely love him.
Yeah,
because it wasn't, while it is about his blackness and his Hispanic, Latino background, it's also not. It's also about being a little kid who wants to be considered, at all responsible for what his life is going to be like, and his parents are trying to tell him otherwise. Maybe a kid that don't understand that.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
I also like how it's a representation. I believe I heard from some interview with the creators of, like, when they were writing the story for the Into the Spider-Verse, that it was about how the community reacted to Miles being Spider-Man. Like, when he first came onto the scene, how they kind of just turned on him and reacted as such and everything. And like, because, or said that there was some way that he couldn't be Spider-Man. Like, that's not, it's because only Peter can be Spider-Man or some shit.
Yeah, only a Peter Parker can be Spider-Man.
But only idiots say that because they don't read.
You remember, like, on Twitter, or not even Twitter, just internet in general, start calling Miles Morales only Miles. They're like, no, he's not Spider-Man. He's Miles Morales. For whatever reason.
Yeah, I remember.
They try to take that identity away from him.
They weren't there during Ultimate Spider-Man when the torch was passed to him. They weren't there at all. And they have, for some reason, they needed to be validated that they're separate entities when there's a million people who wear the Spider-Man persona.
All across the like all universes and everything, you're fine with calling them Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man from blah blah blah, or Spider-Man from whatever universe or whatever. But if Miles Morales is Spider-Man, he has to only be called what his name is, because he couldn't wear the moniker for whatever reason, which is dumb.
I think the truth of that is because Miles is the only character to challenge Peter Parker for validity.
I agree.
As
True.
Spider-Man. You know, and we saw that happen before in the early aughts when the Justice League cartoon decided to have Jon Stewart be Green Lantern instead of Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
How many people did not understand that Hal Jordan predated John as Green Lantern, especially when you talk about figures like Dwayne McDuffie, the late great Dwayne McDuffie, who criticized Warner Brothers for when they decided they were going to do the movie. They decided to make it Hal, even though one, Hal had been dead for years. Jon Stewart was the obvious popular
the only choice. Exactly.
The world was familiar with Jon Stewart. How could you do that? You alienated your own franchise by doing that with your own bigotry.
They also I've noticed they also did that with the Flash as well. They didn't start with in that cartoon that got so big and everything. They started with Wally instead of Barry,
which is crazy.
And then. Yeah,
which is nuts. I was also going to ask you, Victor, have you speaking of Jon Stewart, I think he's having probably one of his like greatest resurgence in the Green Lantern miniseries War Journal. Have you got a chance to check that out?
I've seen a little bit of it. I haven't consistently read it. But no, I totally agree. Like John is
he's Johning.
Killing it.
He's John.
John is Johning.
Outside of Batman, Green Lantern is like the one thing that's been carrying DC on its back silently for so long. Because Green Lantern has been consistently good.
I feel you on that.
It really has. And Green Lantern is one of the few books that can be consistently inclusive. And no one is allowed to argue because you're like, yo, this is an alien.
This is literally a title.
It's an alien-based core police.
Like, oh, now they can't be in space, huh?
People? Like, get out of here.
Right. It's part of that whole that you were talking about. Like, you can be your own thing and still part of the collective and be individualized because they're really cutting up in there.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's up there with the original reason why John doesn't wear a mask. Have you ever seen that?
No.
He's like, oh, yeah. When he first became Green Lantern, it was standard issue for all the Green Lanterns to have like a green domino mask.
Yeah,
Hal Jordan has it, like all of them.
Yeah.
And he opted not to wear one. And Hal's like, why not? And he's like, because it doesn't matter if you know that I'm Jon Stewart. What you do know is that I'm black, and that's way more dangerous. And I'm not going to change that. I'm not going to hide that.
Exactly.
So the fact that I'm black makes me already a threat. Who cares if you know my name? Come see me. Come see me. Like, you know, and that's such a like.
That's awesome.
And it doesn't take anything away from Hal. Hal didn't start going, well, fuck it, I'm not going to wear a mask either. He still keeps his mask, but you got to have a very real conversation about blackness.
Yeah, exactly.
And the actual threats that we feel on a daily basis. And it was woven right into the story. No one batted an eye. In fact, most people clapped about it like, yo.
Yeah. And you know what? It would be some funny stuff because the story about people who draw power from color wouldn't talk about color.
Mm-hmm. That's more than brilliant, ain't it?
Yeah. Well, man, I think that pretty much is starting to wrap it up for us. I was gonna ask you before we get out of here. Do you have any what do you got going on? Like, what's the next thing for the hardest working man in comics?
Yeah. Oh man, listen, that is not a name that is used lightly when it comes to my schedule. So literally this Wednesday, I'm flying off to Orlando for MegaCon, where I have an insane schedule of guests that I'm working with, comic creators that I'm working with. I get to do the 50th anniversary celebration of Wolverine.
Oh, with congratulations.
Charles Soule. Thank you. Charles Soule, Steve McNiven, and the Frank Miller himself.
Nice.
I get to host the Ghost Machine panel, which is Jeff Johns, Brad Meltzer, Brian Hitch, Francis Manipal, Maytal Zup. I think Lamont McGee is going to be there. Peter Tomasi, like so many people are riding under this one, and I get to be their host for that. Yeah, dude, like it's super big. I've got a shoe line that I just launched. My Geeking clothing line has done pretty well. And I started playing around with tennis shoes last year and got so much love for it that I decided to go ahead and make the first 8 designs available online. And we're kicking that off. I've got a ton of literary projects that I'm doing with my local community, trying to get kids to read more and read better by using comic books in the classroom.
That's awesome. Exactly.
Listen, this is it. This is the job, right?
You said Geek King?
Yes, yeah, GEEKING, because geeks are taking over everything, we're the kings of culture now. So if you go to Geeking, I think it's Geeking_official.printify.me, is the store, and you can check out the first 8 designs. As a matter of fact, to kind of pair those two things together, for the first quarter, I want to move 50 pairs of shoes, and if I do, I'm going to give away 50 pairs of shoes to kids in my neighborhood that need shoes come school time next year, or this coming school year. So
definitely, we'll definitely help you push on that, man.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Sure. That's a lovely cause, and as a sneakerhead, I'm gonna be in there.
That's right. We'll say it one more time for the people in the back. That's Geek King.
Geek King.
That's right.
Yeah.
Geek King. If you go to Instagram, all hail the Geeking, you can see links to all the shirts that we have, the shoes that we have. It's 2 different sites, but definitely you can check out those things and, rep your voice. We're the kings of pop culture. So we earned it. We might as well rep it.
That's
Absolutely.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, hey, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for bringing your insight. And
got to do it again.
Yeah.
Got to do it again.
Anytime. You pick a time. As long as I'm not on the road, it's happening.
Gotcha.
And anytime you're out here in Chicago for a con, man, make sure you hit us up.
I got you.
You're gonna go out to eat, show you around the city.
Get some drinks.
We'll break bread. We'll record it because we're going to drop gems throughout the conversation.
Oh, yeah,
so
100%.
That's what we'll do.
For sure.
We're gonna post up at the local Korean barbecue with a bunch of microphones and kimchi.
Let's go.
Okay.
That might be the name of the episode. Mike's and kimchi. Let's go.
All right, that's what's up. All right, Victor. Thank you for joining us today, and
let everybody know where they can find you too.
Yes.
Of course. You guys can find me on pretty much all forms of social media at Vantage In-House. That is my publishing imprint, home of some of the best comics in all of the small press. You can also find me at ucreatecomics.com. That's the letter U, CRE, the number 8 comics, where I'm doing in-class lessons as well as art supplies to help you build your own comic universe from start to finish. And then, of course, there's All Hail the Geek King, which will showcase all the cool fashion wear that I'm bringing to the table. I'm stunting on them on this Comic-Con market. I'm telling you, I'm out here.
Do it. Get that money, baby.
get that money.
You already know.
That's right. Well, thank you guys for joining us for this great interview. We'll be right back with comic reviews. Stay tuned. Thank you for joining us, and see you in a bit. And we're back.
Yep, we are back with some comic book reviews. Woo! We picked up some of the best comics from last week, in my humble opinion, and we're going to talk about some of them here today. We are starting.
Before we get started, I do want to mention we want to thank our guests for joining us and having a great discussion. Through that, I wanted to bring up that I actually found this beer the other day. I brought this brewery in a couple times. Low Hum West Coast IPA style from Sound Growler Brewing Company out of Tinley. And I really liked this beer while we were having a discussion.
I'm into it.
Chris liked it so much, he chucked it within 5 minutes of the fucking interview.
It's gone. Is this a sour?
No, sir.
No.
It is a West Coast IPA. It's got like hints of like tangerine and like grapefruit.
Okay.
Hey, you want some grapefruit?
Sweetness. I got enough. I got enough.
Would you stop pushing this grapefruit?
Trying to peddle this half-ass grapefruit. Where did
Doing
you
that shit all day.
First of all, so
You want the origin story?
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that. Clarence showed up with a fucking grapefruit split in half in 2 different baggies.
Not even the whole thing.
Because you saw how tiny those fucking bags are.
Why did you cut it in the first place? If you're gonna
Okay,
bring
so
the whole thing?
here's the origin story. When I went grocery shopping, I had these 2 big things that looked like oranges, and the sign right above it said Sumo oranges.
Don't point at me.
Right? So I was like, okay, cool. I look at the sign. These oranges are very small, and it says California oranges right above them. I don't want those. Right below them, these are Caracara oranges. No, these Caracara oranges are over here because I know what they look like. I'm smelling them. Okay, these are Caracara oranges over here.
Okay,
And then it says Sumo oranges, and there are these big, fat orange sphere fruits. I'm gonna get 2 of these big Sumo oranges. They're grapefruits.
Where did you go? I've never.
Meyer.
Where?
Meyer.
Don't ever go there again.
No, go to Meyer.
Yeah,
But just be prepared.
They fooled you with like a bunch of different ways of saying either like a grapefruit / like a clementine or something like that. I feel like those little ones with clementines.
Those are clementines.
Huh?
Those are clementines.
Yeah, exactly. Like saying California orange. They keep using the word orange. when they should have been using actual names.
I intended to get those 2 fat ass oranges, and then I got this thing called a pomelo. You guys ever had a pomelo?
Never. I don't even know what that looks like.
I think so.
A pomelo is like a grapefruit. I expected to get that type of grapefruit, and like when you cut it open, the flesh of the fruit is individually wrapped in like that white film that you peel off from oranges.
Oh, I think I've seen that on the internet. It looks like one of them alien eggs.
And the flesh is it's like scales almost.
Yeah.
The flesh isn't
What the fuck?
like one thing. Like when you bite it, like they could like shoot off somewhere because they're individual like that. And it's like a grapefruit, it's like a little sweeter than a grapefruit.
So it squirts in you.
No, it doesn't squirt.
We are now
the flesh
a citrus
is like scales.
citrus podcast.
And the scales pop off. I didn't say squirt. Pop off.
Pop like.
Yeah.
Like
so
a
I get notes of grapefruit and
thank you.
pimento, and pomelo, and possum, and
Awesome.
I just want to say we love you, man. We love you so much. We love you,
I love you, Clarence.
Thank you.
comic books.
man.
Yeah, but comic books though.
Yeah.
And drinking and comic books.
Man. From Marvel,
What you got on the slate for us today, man?
we are gonna talk about
Grapefruit.
we don't want your wares.
Don't bring grapefruit to the pod.
Speaking of grapefruits, Colossus is big old nuts.
Right. Nice segue. I mean, truly masterful. The fall of the House of X #1. We feared it.
Breaks
It
my
was
heart.
coming. It's here now.
It all has to come to it. Yeah.
And I'll have to admit, I have to be honest. I stepped away from X-Men right in the heat of Destiny of X.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm coming into this with little information as to what led up to it, but even still.
Let me tell you something. I am hot. Hot.
For now and forever, fuck
Tell him.
Sinister. Fuck Mr. Sinister and his Dominion.
He's the greatest. I don't even know if it's an
ass.
appropriate term, but
What?
he's the greatest. No.
Say it.
No, he is.
He's the greatest coon of the mutant race.
The greatest coon.
Yeah.
I mean,
The-
well, in return,
the greatest moot.
He will
Nathaniel
smoke us.
Essex, the only human to cosplay as a mutant.
Right.
There's
Truly disgusting.
Like, what was he even in Crow for?
There's
I
like
don't know.
10 there's like 10
Research.
years of history all wrapping up through different intricate weaves, and this is great.
Man.
The Felix Covenant is here. We got Dominions. We got
The Phoenix
different
Force.
realms. Yeah, this is
They
gonna
are
be great.
closing the doors on lives of Miss McTaggart. It's
I was gonna ask, like,
nuts.
are we talking about both of them, or are we gonna talk? Are we talking?
I feel like we should talk about both of them. That's because
There-
that's the
there's
way
one
that
story.
like
yeah.
Wait,
House
it
of
man.
Powers kind of
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah.
So yes, with that being said, I guess we will talk about the fall the fall of the House of X and the rise of the House of X at the same time.
Is it Powers of X?
Or-
I
or
think
the
the other Rise of Powers of X.
Rise of the Powers of X. There you go. I wanted to make sure we're saying.
Okay, like we don't have to talk about it since it's a spoiler
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
But like my only gripe, I love all of this, right? I love all of this, even though once again, it's one of those things where I've been gone
Talk
for
to
a
me.
while.
Talk to me. I'll set you straight.
Like,
Come on, talk to me.
Okay, all right, yeah. Tell me that I'm wrong. I don't like how Power, I think, of X, or like the rise of it, the one that was in the future, right?
Yeah.
I didn't like how that ended because I don't like the implications of where we're going on how they're going to explain how this is all going to wrap up.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
I get it. I get it.
you
I just-
thought we were gonna
yeah.
let you keep your own country?
I thought no, but it's not the fact that we're going to let them keep his own country, but it just feels like that's going to get kind of erased, and I don't want it to be all gone. I don't want it to just like be in his own little bubble. Like, yeah, that thing happened, but we're starting over again. I'm like, that's my only.
I agree with your sentiment, and I had that same thought as I was reading it.
Yeah.
And is this all going to be for naught? But I think history goes to show that when we put an expectation to this line,
Yeah.
in the last 5-6 years, any time that we've thought that they were going to do something,
True.
they completely 180'd it and completely just dropped us on our head. So I guess maybe they just set me up to fail on my face, or they've done this so long that I completely have trust, and let's see what they do, and I have trust that they're going to give me something that is going to be satisfactory to these years that I've spent on this franchise.
And that's the thing. Like, you are correct, because we talked about that ever since we even started talking about these comments. Because like, this can't keep this can't keep going. Like this has to. They're gonna do this thing, and they never do what we think we're gonna do. Even when they say this is the thing we're gonna do, they flip it on its head and do something else.
And it's almost like we kind of know that this entire. If you notice, even from the beginning, this entire run has been about rebirth, rebranding, restarting. Every single time that somebody dies, they restart, they rebrand, they come back in, right?
Yeah.
The House and Powers of X were all about Moira restarting new lives. And this entire run has led to the White Room, which is the nest of the Phoenix. So this entire thing they've told us, this is going to be this is gonna entirely wrap up and is gonna restart again with a whole new fire and a whole new life to it. So
like the Phoenix,
this entire I believe this entire 10-year thing has been all about Jean.
No,
she getting her eyes again.
I mean, the Phoenix was old is now new again.
They snatched that shit off Echo and they let it borrow for a little bit. So do something. Like, give me that shit.
We were done with that over there.
I keep talking about
the Phoenix said, you know what? I think I like the X gene.
I think, yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie.
Mess with none of this other garbage.
Even if the calamity that we speak of is true, where it's gonna be collapsed inside of these lives, and it happened, but then it doesn't exist anymore. I'm cool with that. I mean, Vision once said in a Marvel movie that a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts, and the fact that somebody was
because it happened
exactly, and the fact that someone can come and put what feels like a 10-year stamp on the X-Men, but these books still exist. They're not going anywhere. They said, we did this for the culture, for the continuity, and now y'all can do whatever the fuck y'all want to do after I'm done. I'll accept that because this show is going to keep on rolling. Right? True. But the fact that we have...
And to be honest, I don't know how I could keep reading 15 books about the billions of X-Men of mutants that they've brought in.
Fair.
I don't know how you balance that without, subjugating. Without,
some of the wheels coming off of this thing, you know what I mean? And I like it right now because it's still very sophisticated, very classy. And I think that the way they handled it in both these books were pretty much masterclass to me. I like to see where this thing goes. They still got a few twists and turns left, and I very, very much enjoyed this.
Sinister and Xavier having their buddy cop adventure. Both megalomaniacs are
psychopaths.
Hydo.
That's not on here. I'm sorry, I confused that with
something.
What's the Immortal X-Men?
Hydo.
They got the little buddy cop movie.
I need an explanation because I don't think they explained it well in there.
What you need?
Xavier's black in the future. What's up with that? They said something about.
Yeah. Xavier's dead.
Yeah. Oh, he died, and
Xavier's dead.
Sync has the powers, and he could actually take people's minds and keep them.
And they're showing that in is it X-Men? Did you read the same X-Men?
They're doing that with X-23.
Yeah.
They're doing that with Laura.
Yeah,
because they went to go visit what's his name, the High Evolutionary.
Yeah,
and he just
she got smoked, but
instantly.
The only person that can see her is Sync because he
still has her.
He is working as a living Cerebro.
Wow.
Because did you read when they went to go? What was that shit?
When they went to the
what is it called? We're on the same page here, but it has a name. We're both trying to figure out the name.
The humans are advanced, and why are they fucking skipping my mind? Down in Brazil, down in South America.
What?
It's some chamber with some hyperbolic time chamber where they however much out here
children of the future.
The vault. They were in the vault. The children of the vault.
What that is. Okay.
Yeah. So while they were there and trying to infiltrate that, it was Laura Kenny and Sync, and they were trapped in there together for a couple of decades,
thousands.
Oh, I remember
2,000 years.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, 2,000 years.
Yeah, he imprinted
more
her.
Than a couple decades.
He imprinted her onto him, and they were around so long that her power and her memories went into him. So when she happened to get killed by the High Evolutionary, he's able to keep her memory alive as a Cerebro backup.
Wow.
And it's kind of sad because he's there talking to her in front of everybody else, and who are you talking to?
And
my bad, don't worry about it.
And this thing does the thing that I love that the series has done is when they jump into the future, they give you this cataclysmic Warhammer 4,000 or 40,000 just fucking ecliptic battles with beautiful panels and just destruction everywhere, and you're seeing shit die and explode, and you're seeing this dramatic finishes, and it's like like you're sad because you're like, I don't know where this is going because everybody is dying, even in like off books that aren't the main I guess what we would call the main exit.
Yeah.
Even on the adjacent books, like people are just dying left and right. It don't matter who the fuck you are. Your class doesn't matter. You're one of the original X-Men. We're gonna get you out of here. We're gonna find a way. Shit is happening, and the levity of the entire event, you feel so much heavier now that it's on its way out.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about Kamala Khan being
Captain Greg Khan?
Yeah.
Amazing.
It suits her.
It's great.
I like it. I like
Me
that
too.
suit.
Me too. On her, it looks great.
I just want to do something. I just want her to do something.
You want her to?
Yeah,
do
she hasn't done shit.
I want her to do something. Be that in her own books or in the X-Men books that she's here in. I want her to do something.
Do nothing.
She hasn't done anything for a decade. I want her to do something.
She did do something. She
she's
put on that
there to-
costume and she filled it out.
She's there as a compliment, but not as a statement. I'm sorry.
She is the umbrella in my martini glass. I want her to do something.
No.
Hey,
Besides look amazing.
Look, they have done more with her than they've done with her in the last 5 years, something like that. Because before she died,
That is what's sad, though.
that is what's said. I'm sorry, but I hate the fact
I was
she
in the
came-
trenches.
I know.
I was reading them books. She ain't done nothing.
and now
done nothing.
Don't get me wrong. I kind of wish she didn't come so late in the game because I feel like she could have been more implement earlier. But it's
I want her to be the most successful Jubilee she can possibly be.
no.
I think she is.
Yes.
She's
Yes,
front line and
please.
center of a major event.
She's not
without
Jubilee,
even
though.
asking.
She's
I
not
mean,
Jubilee, though.
obviously, let's not go that
This
far.
is the pandering that we're talking
Yeah.
There's the panel we were talking about.
Like Cat Williams said, what do you think a plant is? And that's Kamala Khan.
And she
She's a
got
plant.
flowers over her head.
Literally.
Let me see.
Listen.
Let me
That's
see.
plant.
Let me see again.
That's subliminal. She's got the plants on her head. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But
Subliminal.
no,
as hell.
I think she.
Beautiful.
Yeah, the way that I like the way they're developing her character more on the X books that she shows up into than on her own solo stuff.
Agreed.
She's
Which
done
is
not.
kind of
They
sad.
haven't developed her in her own solo stuff. That's what I've been trying to tell y'all.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, I know. I'm
Yeah.
just passionate, man.
She's done more than AI Tony.
All right.
Okay, see, that's something.
You watch your mouth.
I mean, they did AI Tony. I was like, oh, he's gonna do something this chapter. He's like, oh
He did
shit,
do-
I
he
can't
did do something.
explode.
He exploded.
That's why you got to read the Iron Man book.
Oh,
That when he's bagging down Emma Frost, taking her down.
Yeah, he's getting a taste of the White Queen.
Getting that premium milk.
He's showing her his white.
What a lucky
King.
man.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's a glass full there. Speaking of which, I guess we can move on to Image. We read Duke the last time we did reviews, but now we're on the other side of Cobra. With Cobra Commander.
You see,
I did say Cobra Kai.
This book was hilarious. I liked it. I
In
loved
so
this
many
book.
ways. It's like they played it straight, but it was still like
ridiculous.
yeah. I'm like, wow. All right.
I brought you into Cobra Loss, and you do this to me.
But I have to say,
Hey,
this
buddy, what's with the speech impediment?
I have to say though, I love this because this is the most I gave a fuck about Cobra ever. Like
this is exactly what I was waiting for with the whole G.I. Joe and Transformers crossover, was something like this.
Like they breathe new air into the lore of fucking, like, you're telling me now that Cobra he came from some, I'm not even sure it was a different planet, dimension, or it's somewhere under the crust of the, yeah, exactly. Like he came from some snake land.
Because it's Cobra La, like Shangri-La inside.
It's in the crust of exactly.
Yeah,
Oh my
Hollow
God.
Earth theory.
He's Hollow Earth.
You know how hard I
Open up
laughed
the third
when,
eye, baby.
this man got eviscerated, and what do? They put an octopus on him, a couple of snakes, and a tube in his mouth.
They did all that just so they could watch him die, but then he refused to die because he's just too good.
didn't heal you so you could heal. I healed you so I could watch you die.
Oh shit! Well, I'm too good.
He said,
"Goes my scarabs, go."
He's like, I've never been a fighter. Man, yeah.
Who did they have locked down there? Was that
Megatron.
Listen, man, I'll be.
That's I mean, it's classic Megatron though.
I'll be intoxicated.
With his he doesn't have it, but I'm waiting for the spit cannon.
Looks like.
Hey, he's holding down the
cannot know
X-Men
things.
universe over here.
He's
all
allowed
right?
to know things. It's fine.
He's allowed to not know stuff.
Who gives a fuck about Transformers
But
here? Really?
All I'm
My
doing is
favorite
trying to give equal lefts and rights, all right?
My
You see
favorite
how
Megatron
whenever
was a
it happens
fucking
for you,
dinosaur, bitch.
He don't bat for you. Look how he just batted for Heido. Look, you see that? I got your back.
Stop trying to divide the group.
Stop trying to divide the group with your racist,
I don't have to do
ways.
nothing. You
Before
got to
I
do it
spit
yourself.
on you like Krakoa.
like
Captain Krakoa.
Captain
Yeah.
Krakoa,
The real Krakoa, the tree one.
the tree. Oh, and he ran away.
I did read that super fast at work, so I was just kind of like Transformer. My bad.
It's
Sorry.
it's pretty.
I'm
decent.
sorry. I didn't fucking
He didn't
specialize.
He
on the
didn't
fucking robot it was.
look at the
Yeah.
panel for 2.5 seconds to go.
I
Oh, that's
did.
Megatron.
Yeah.
How dare you?
I thought it was Starscream. The real
Oh
deal.
my god!
Yeah, how
There's-
dare you?
there's no-
Wrong
It's a
color
crime.
palette.
There's
What
no
a
red.
crime.
There's no red.
What color?
What a crime.
Yeah, he don't see color.
Yeah, because they ripped his arms off.
They're all Autobots. You racist?
Yeah,
Yes.
they technically are
They're
all Autobots.
Cybertronians.
I mean,
Get it
true.
straight.
They're
They're all, they're all
robots.
Cybertronian. They're all Cybertronian.
Cybertronian.
What are you? What are you? What is this? Come on now.
What is this? Some kind of
Stop
racist?
being so woke.
But no, really found it enjoyable. I can't wait to follow up with the rest of the series
Yeah.
and see how they actually get when this iteration of the G.I. Joe starts butting heads, because
Yeah.
that other shit.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
you're
This is he's building Cobra. right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to when that culminates, because
Yeah, I'm
Boy.
going to take what we read before that felt like a Saturday night cartoon. It's gone. Like this is definitely
Already forgot.
I mean,
yeah.
What's more Saturday Night cartoon than him? He killed that man and took the time to draw a little Cobra.
Yeah.
Stencil with his blood.
Symmetrical.
So detailed.
Perfect.
Like get the curves, the lines.
In the 3 seconds that it took for somebody to walk outside the door.
Yeah.
I felt sorry. He said, "Who left the circus in town? What's that car right there?"
What is that? Some kind of toy?
Zap.
Boom! And he exploded in blood.
Fantastic.
It's truly great. And he's always had this great fashion sense. That's the thing that surprised me. I'm like, wow. Oh, okay. He's always been about that.
always been
Great.
about
Fascism and fashion.
Fascism and fashion always go hand in
They
hand.
always go hand in hand.
The two F's.
Alliteration.
Oh shit. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Can't wait to see where they take these.
I love. Yeah.
Recommend.
Yeah.
Recommend.
Easily. My favorite read of the week: Chip Zdarsky, Daniel Alcuna, cut the hell up. Avengers Twilight, book number 1.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I absolutely enjoyed every page of this book. I read it twice.
Same.
I
mean, not twice, but I loved it.
Man, I mean, what a great premise. It's like finally we take what could happen if it's like we fling these people in the future and see the outcome of like their doings.
Yeah, exactly.
The scenario, I'm sure it'll unfold later. We'll get into that whole hero thing.
Am I tripping here? Is this not like this may be biased, but is this not like a better version of Future State with Batman?
No, it's not even close. Future State didn't
Look at me,
have any
Heido. Look at me.
legs.
I see that face. Look at me.
Listen,
Look at me.
what I everything I got from this comic book was Old Man Logan,
The Dark Knight.
Yeah, The Dark Knight and Future State. Like
It's a power world of
I
comics.
mean,
But it was good. It's good. I'm not playing nothing.
but no. So
You did when you
I
said Future State.
he's right. I got that off the bat, but then it became his own thing.
Yeah.
As soon as Luke walked up with his fucking whole body
Yeah.
walker.
Like his fucking exoskeleton
Yeah.
because he can't
Poor
fucking move.
Luke.
Fuck.
Man, I mean, I guess like
that
that's
was-
cool, kind of, to think that his skin is so. Like,
He's I mean,
it can't starts moving, like he can't really move around.
I have to say, at least he's still indestructible. He just can't fucking move,
Right.
Without assistance.
So it's
Man,
just spit knowledge.
I thought Captain America lost his fucking serum. That motherfucker still looked juiced.
Juice, baby.
Yeah, he didn't lose his size, but he
Even
loved his
before
power.
the serum.
When you saw him with that short off at the very end, he had the serum.
He was motherfucker. He looked like an ape. He looked like the king.
He
ape.
looked like an ape.
He looked like the king ape. He looked in charge. I mean, it was really, really, really cool.
I loved how he had to I told you this before the pod. Like, I love this little like Batman moment where he was talking. He had the inner monologue while he was beating up those guards. He was like, they think that I'm too old for this.
That's what gave me the Dark Knight vibe.
Exactly.
And then they beat his ass.
Run, kids, and then those kids left like, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And they're like, we're gonna leave.
So yeah, stomp him out.
Fuck.
No,
I'm sad to see that. What happened? I'm sad what happened to Matt. I have to say.
off screen
Off
too.
panel.
But
I'm
off
like,
panel.
But then again,
damn.
I think that's a setup.
I mean, it could be. It could be like a clear. Maybe we'll see him later. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I have no reason to doubt them at this point that he's actually gone.
True.
Which, it kind of speaks to his character, I guess, that he would, he would go out that way, which is cool. I kind of like that. I just can't wait to see where they're going next.
There's a lot of fucking implications, especially like with Iron Man and his son. Like,
Man,
it's like,
what a little douchebag.
like, yeah, is he just entirely a fake? Is he just a fake in general?
Fake ass Legion.
Yeah, he's a fake ass Legion. He's fucking just sucking off the life force of his dad and everything.
I do want to know what these backlash pages have to do with the story, the Loki story.
I didn't read those.
There's a lot. Didn't they do that? Another.
I wasn't going to.
Oh,
I wasn't going to read them, but yeah, you're right. I forget what it was, but I wasn't going to read them, and I'm like, and I hope it doesn't come back to bite me in the ass because I did waste some time reading this. This better fucking come back around because
this better
if this was just some fuckery in the background, I would be highly upset. But I did take time to read this because I thought, hey, why would you cut back all the way back to that, right?
Yeah, why are you
We'll see.
Because I'm not even sure. Like, it's such a specific style, like an offshoot story. It's like, so why?
It gave me vibes of this is going to tell like the origin of why we're in this kind of dystopian thing, and it probably looks like maybe Loki might be culprit of this.
Of
course, we'll see.
Yeah,
I like I said, I hope it ties into it because otherwise I don't understand the purpose of
having those little things at the end,
having it in the back,
just for fun. Didn't you have fun?
I had fun in 85% of like the other 85% of the book. You know what I mean? Like for fun. The main story was fun.
Yeah.
The art is great.
Man,
fucking
can't get over that.
Yeah, I like the watercolor-esque like 3D overlapping things in the background.
He did the international or not the intergalactic kingdom of Wakanda too. He did some of the covers, and I read it just for him. And now he's on something. He's on this, man.
Yeah,
it's fucking great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, super fun. Can't wait to see what happens next. And this one came under the radar. Like, I didn't know it was coming. I didn't know if it was tied into the Avengers run that's currently happening. And this is just like this is a point now after all that. But man,
I don't know what this is because of the Buddy being the son of Tony Stark and Jan.
That little shit.
Man,
so
what a little.
So that to me, I was like, what is this? What Avengers run does this follow?
Right, because it seems like it's doing all classics. We're still even talking about Janet being.
We even saw Iron Man suit when he's in the tank and everything. That's the classic Iron Man suit. It has a round circle and everything.
Yeah, so it has to be tied into the golden era of comics. So I like the way that they're approaching this with the total control of.
It's gonna stay down there.
Like
it's gonna stay down.
Yeah, with the camp, with everything that they talked about in here was hidden the 10 marks. So
yeah, for sure.
Totally into it. Yeah. With as far as recommendations, has anybody been reading anything outside of like the list?
I mean, we all know I've been reading a shit ton of X-Men, but one that fucking supremely stood out to me that I was wondering how the fuck it was gonna play out is the resurrection of Magneto. If I believe X-Men Red is over, and this is gonna be the new Storm book.
Okay, I might get in on it.
It is a
Storm getting pushed.
Yeah, it's dealing with magic. It's dealing with high universal like
cosmic
identity.
Yeah, constructs.
Thar and Dion Karen comes back as this. It's really good. I was going into it with low expectations. Like this is just going to be a way to kind of bring Magneto back, and I want him back.
That's why I didn't read it.
Yeah. I obviously want him back at the end of this, but I'm more invested in Storm's path in all this.
Yeah.
And if you notice, she's not in any of these books.
No, she has not showed up.
So she is in this, how this pertains to how this is going to happen. That's what I'm really excited about. How she's going to make that return into this. Because Lorna took over the mantle of Magneto, right? She put on the helmet. The way that this is all going to work, and it just all the little bits and pieces that were showing in that book, art is beautiful. So that's my recommendation for this.
Got you. I have been chewing up that Green Lantern War Journal. Their last issue, because it's a miniseries, of course. Obviously, they always do that. But it comes out in February. But Green Lantern War Journal, fantastic. Still reading that Daredevil that I brought in a couple of pods back.
Yeah, with the demons and stuff.
Yes,
right?
They are doing very much the seven deadly sins thing, and they're playing it pretty cool. Like they're doing it in a way where it's like, okay, this is very Daredevil. Like it doesn't feel like I'm gonna be disappointed like with Devil's Reign. It feels like this is something a little bit more true to the character, even if it's a bit more biblical than what I usually like for this character. But I'm rocking with it. It's actually still pretty decent.
It's Electric still in there. Electra.
This is about Matt.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is about the real Daredevil.
Mr. Eminem.
Yeah. But no, yeah, that's pretty much all I got, guys.
I've been hanging with guys for a little bit.
Oh, how's that going?
How many issues are we?
Because they're on 4.
Yeah, you know, I'm a shill. All right.
I read up to 3. I read up to 3. I really enjoyed 3. I got to read 4.
Yeah, you got to the boxes.
Yeah,
I gotta get caught up.
Yeah,
it's much of the same thing. If you didn't like the first one because of the wordiness and the amount of amalgamation,
oh man,
yeah,
it does not stop.
It doesn't. It's Hickman, man.
Yeah, I was like, it's
you're right. You're right.
So, like I said, I'm a fan of what he does. I got burned once, but who doesn't get burned once when you're cooking with fire? You know, when you're sitting there, you know, you got the heat going. Who don't get burned once?
That's how you know you're alive.
When
you get burned.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
A tiefling because they're fire resistant.
Quiet nerd.
Right?
I'm gonna check out that. You guys, man.
You're on Baldur's Gate.
I love it.
Shut up. I'm gonna check out that Ghost Machine too. Our guest Victor Dandridge brought it up.
Yes, he did.
Ghost Machine, I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, I'm about halfway through that. I got a little bit more to go through.
Bet. All right, guys. With that being said, has been our comic book reviews. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. This has been the Thirsty Nerds podcast. If you guys like what you've seen here, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment. What are you reading? Do you agree that that all the X books are awesome and that Avengers Twilight is probably teeing up to be one of their little great series? I mean, what's up? What are you guys checking out?
Also, what do you think about the conversation we had earlier about like how the state of comics and representation, all that? Like, I would be happy to see what you guys think. Just put down in the comments.
I will say, if your vocabulary unironically uses woke,
please don't.
Please don't.
Hey,
Don't come. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
If it does unironically use woke, you know, listen to it and maybe hopefully you can reevaluate.
Keep the conversation civil. But this is a good. This is the future of comics. This is going to be, and it requires everybody's perspective, and we can all learn from each other.
True.
So, tell us what you're reading. Tell us what you thought about our conversation with our guest. Shout out to Victor for coming in and hanging out with us. And thank you guys for joining us in another episode of Thirsty Nerds Podcast. Where can they find us?
You can find us at Thirsty Nerds on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok,
all that shit.
All that good stuff.
Yeah.
You can find me at Sumo on Instagram and Twitter.
You can find me at Stooge Prime on Twitter.
You can find me at What's King Manking on TikTok.
You can find me at Just_Uno on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you all for joining us. Stay thirsty.
Peace out, nerds.
Stay reading. Stay thirsty.
Stay reading, please.
Flip.